budget. You guys, I presented you by statute required to present you that the 1st of May. At our last meeting, we talked about adding a couple of different items to the budget. The first was an additional $9,000 to the fairgrounds, or $10,000 total. We've adjusted the cash transfers from the landfill to general fund to match up the formula that we need to be using. And as we just reported a few minutes ago, the health insurance assumption was at 10% increase. We took that down to 0, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. And we've increased the year-end carryover for the road, LGEA and occupational license funds based on receipts that over the last 30 days, or the last 3 weeks, really. So that's how, when you get down to the last 60 days of the budget, each day you can find new ways to move things around a little bit to make it a little closer to reality without trying to be, we always try to be fairly conservative. I want to go back to the health insurance assumptions. When we put 10% in there initially, and we took it to 0 instead of taking another 10 to 15% off of that, do that purposely because when you have open enrollment, just 5 employees can come onto your health insurance and take a family plan, and this happened before, guys. You're looking at $150,000 that the county has to pay. So you have to be cautious about, budgeting too tight to make it work right. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. When does the open enrollment end?
Usually August 1.
Okay. So after that,
it starts on August 1.
Okay.
But they let me do it earlier now since we're renewing earlier, and I'll find that out for sure, Jeff.
Yeah, but if we do not have,
what's that, Jeff?
I assume we'll just do a budget amendment to clean it up.
If you don't have any new ones, it's usually just money that's in there that you don't have spent. That's typically what's done. But that open enrollment can go. It can. I think it's a 30-day window, Jeff.
Yeah.
And then what can happen too, though, and this has happened. Probably it'll happen. You'll have 1 or 2 a year that you'll have a change in status.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas you lose your coverage with the company, your wife or somebody loses her insurance, and you have to take it, and so you have to be real cautious about that. But for every family plan, it's 30 grand. Just keep that in mind.
All right.
And for the other, I didn't figure the others, but they're similar based on the rates. You want to go through the general fund page by page, or do you want to do it generally speaking?
I think Rhonda answered most of my questions, Dean. I had a laundry list of them, but you can go through generally if you would like. She got all my highlighted items. I'm
comfortable going through it generally.
Okay. Generally speaking, the budget mirrors last year's to a point. And in saying that, we did, as you saw the assumptions, we did budget a 3% increase in salaries. You guys still have the final approval what that number is going to be? And we'll do that when we do our June first meeting in June, of what the employees' salaries. You remember the pay rate order you guys always approve every year. Still, the open question is the general liability insurance. That's a big question, I think you're going to take probably a 20% increase or better. Probably, we'll see.
That's in August, is that right?
That's July 1.
July 1. Nice.
Yeah. And Keiko is quoting that, Gary and Keith.
Yeah, is that general liability you said?
And yeah. Then workman's comp as well. They both of them are getting quotes from Keiko, and along with other carriers too. You got to understand, you have a jail and you have a police force. That limits the companies that want to write you. Period. There are probably 2 or 3 in the country, maybe at most, are in this region. On general fund, let me go to the transfers.
As you go, Judge, tell us what page you're on.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big believer in that, Keith. I got it here. I got it marked here, so I can find it here. I got too many little dots. Here it is. Page 20. Page 20 talks about the transfers of the various departments. And this is where the county subsidizes other services that we provide. Transfer to the jail in this proposed budget is 1.5 million. Transfer to the EMS is 325,000. Now that's coupled with about 700,000, 600,000 or 700,000 from the occupational tax I'll show you in a minute. About 1.1 million will be transferred to the EMS fund to keep the operation afloat. And the transfer of 100,000 on that same page, that's repayment for the money we borrowed from the landfill fund to fix this building. We're making payments on it. Didn't charge ourselves any interest, by the way. Road fund, the next page, on page 21. I went through the general fund. I mean, it's pretty plain from last year. There's not a lot of difference. The road fund, on page 21, the reduction in the gas tax revenue is it's 1.175 compared to 1.323. And that's just an initial reduction. That could change as the year goes on.
What page is that, Dean?
21.
Okay.
It's actually the first page of the road fund. Okay, then you go to page 22. No allocation at all this year for salt. We have about 2.5, 3 years worth of salt supply on hand. And I feel very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
You guys?
Yes.
And if you go to page 23, I mean, I did put the full amounts in for the magistrates to have an allocation based on what we've done in the past years. Any comments or suggestions on that?
How are they going to even do training?
Bring it up.
Eric?
How are they going to even do training or anything? How's that even? I mean, they can't have conferences or anything. So how's that even going to work?
What are you talking about, Eric?
Is that what you're talking about? The magistrate's training? Is that where you're?
No, I'm talking about page 23 on the road fund.
I'm sorry, I got it.
Hey, talking about the magistrate allocation for blacktop. Now, last year we did we spent quite a bit of money and a lot of effort to go out and measure the roads. And, we've got the data in hand. And this year, I think, given the fact that we're probably not going to get a lot of state money to help supplement that, I'd like to get the magistrate's opinions on apportioning based on the square footage of roads in each district. Now, just for example, the highest district has 25.4% of the square footage of blacktop. The lowest has 14.3. That's 178%. The highest has 178% of the lowest, and yet we're apportioning county money. That's not equitable, and it's not sustainable. Get your opinion on what do you think?
I'd love to hear these comments.
Well, I got one. Now, when you say the highest amount of road square footage, which district would that be, Jeff?
Would be number 4.
Is it number 4?
Number 4.
Is it me or is it Keith?
No.
It's number 4.
You got the highest amount, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and likely increase with the building of subdivision. So I mean, it's just going to get more out of whack.
Let me just refresh everybody's memory on those numbers. Okay, District 1, based on the square footage, has 19.2%. District number 2 has 20.5%, fairly close. District number 3 has 14.3%. District 4 has 25.4%. And district number 5 has 20.7%. So based on the allocation, if you were to appropriate the money based on that square footage formula, District 1 would only receive $115,200. You take about a $4,800 decrease. District number 2 would take a $3,000 increase.
That's what I'm talking about.
District number 3 would take about a $35,000 decrease. And district number 4 would take a $32,400 increase. And district number 5 would only take a $4,200 increase.
Okay.
Can
I just say just one quick thing, and that'll probably be the end of it for me. But I'm just going to go back to. I feel like that really it should be treated as triage, because really the proof is in the pudding, and I really feel like that anybody that rides on my secondary roads or small county roads over here in this district, of course you're looking, when we base it on the square footage, of course the subdivision's not going to get the traffic, it's not going to get the commercial traffic, it's not going to get the agricultural traffic, so those roads aren't going to take a beating like some of these other roads. So if you take the way the state does it, which is, they give them a rating, and by the way, Nelson County has the worst rating that you can get as far as state roads are. It would be nice if we could base it on a triage component instead of a square footage component.
Yeah, something else you just said there, Eric. Subdivisions don't have these big combines and all these wheat trucks and all those tractor and trailers, coming in and out of them.
They
On
got a
all
lot
of our
of
county
concrete
roads,
trucks
they
and,
do.
tear
They
up.
tear
They
the
tear up
culverts
quite a
up.
bit.
But the subdivisions has more people than the back roads.
Well, I've got
And they're wider too, Gary.
More wider, the wider, and they're,
I thought I'd add my 2 cents in on this because I'm having fun with it.
yeah, you like these debates.
I love it.
Yeah, we spend
nobody's really
a lot of
wrong.
effort doing it. We have the data, and this is not something that's going to be permanent. When we redistrict next year, all that's going to change. Brad's got all that in a spreadsheet. He could do it in 10 minutes. So the numbers may come back even. They may come back a lot more equitable. But
Let me just say, and Jeff is not wrong at all, but every district that needed money in the last 3 or 4 years has gotten quite a bit more money than some of the other districts that didn't need it, because the judge is trying to be fair, or totally fair. And he made that point.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, you made that, and I appreciate that respect there. But I'm not going to be here forever.
Yeah. This is a different year. All right. There's not going to be a lot of discretionary money to make things equitable.
Okay, so my next question, if we're going to use that formula, if we get, and I've been around too long to say it's not going to happen, but if we get some state funds, are we going to apportion that equally as well by square footage?
I would be in favor of that, or I would be in favor of Eric's suggestion to rate the roads and put it where it's needed.
I agree with that. I mean, even it don't matter whose district it is. If the road is falling apart and you can't you can't service it because you don't have the money to put on it, I mean, if it needs to go somewhere else, it just does.
I think you're opening a can of worms there, because Keith may say my road needs it. You may say my road.
It gets political, and you don't want to put Brad in that position. I can tell you.
Brad's agitated, and I
He's
don't.
not a very good politician.
Well, I mean, the state has, it would probably be hard, but it needs to be an independent person that doesn't have, take the politics out of it. The state has a ABC rating, correct?
Well, the taxpayers didn't vote in an independent person. They voted in us magistrates, the ones that watch the roads and take care of the roads. The independent person wasn't voted in, so I disagree with that.
Well, I mean, that's true, and you got to lobby for what's best for your district, but the county as a whole is also part of our responsibility.
Exactly.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate that comment.
Let's not pretend that people in one district don't travel on roads in another district. I mean,
Correct.
Right, and they all pay the same tax rate.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, I've heard this from someone before, but look, guys, we're all in this together.
That's right. You heard it from the right one.
That's like I was getting ready to say a few minutes ago. I was going to take that medicine that the president's taking too.
Yeah.
There when we talk about getting those tests.
But
I didn't say it, but since you brought it up,
You talking about the Clorox? No, you ain't talking about that, are you?
No.
hydrochloroquine.
Oh, okay, not the Clorox. Okay.
I agree with Jeff, and I agree, either way is fine with me. I mean, it's not that much difference.
okay. So, but there again, if we get to, and I think I'm not giving up the ship on getting the state money. If we apportion it otherwise, likewise, some of the magistrates may be getting money that their district doesn't need.
I think all districts need the money.
Well,
They'll find a place for it somewhere.
yeah, but in all fairness, and I'm going to talk about Bernard, because Bernard's going to be the one that's going to have a reduction here, probably more than anybody. The rest of the districts are not bad. Is that somewhere along the line next year the reapportionment will take place, and I'm generally thinking that Bernard's district is going to get more roads somewhere, and I'm at fault because this is my third reapportionment that we're getting ready to go through this coming year, and we've always taken the easy route and come in town and find the population where it's been easy. You understand what I'm saying? And so maybe I'm at fault as much as, but the magistrates always liked it because they didn't have to give up any of their voters.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to be a little more stern. But there's a citizen group that you assemble to help you with that and make recommendations to you. But I think the ultimate decision is still back with the magistrates. I'm not sold either way on what's right or wrong. That's the pleasure of the court.
I've not taken any state money for the last several years.
Yeah, Bernard hadn't taken any state money for several years. Yes,
I agree. It's that's the reason I haven't pushed this issue. I've known that it exists for a while because I think we've made it fair. But like you say, you're not going to be here forever, and this year's a different year. I think it is time to set a precedent for future fiscal courts to kind of take the money and spread it around where it's needed, not equally.
I would make a suggestion or recommendation to the court that and I'll give you my pledge here, as President Bush once said, read my lips, that next year is the best year to do that, and I think it would be much fairer then, to be honest with you.
Why next year?
Why next year? Because when we started out doing this, just because it's blacktop money, the magistrates have used that for guardrail in the past. They've used it for supplemental bridges and other things in the past in their district. Right, Bernard?
Correct.
Keith, we've done a little bit in your district too. Yeah. And so it's been tagged for blacktop money. Doesn't mean that the other magistrates don't have other needs in their district.
I think it should be a separate line item.
I like to leave it like it is, because I think it's equitable as me not taking state money.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, Bernard, but they have a great concern about what's happening in the future.
I understand.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good idea to the point that I think for the future. The key thing is, are you ready to do it this year or you want to do it next year?
I think this year's the year to do it. Now, if we're with the redistricting next year, that's an easy math for them. I mean, Brad's got everything on a spreadsheet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but that's a several year calculation. Yeah.
Let's wait till next year, guys. See what to do.
I'll entertain a motion from anybody.
Make a motion, Jeff.
I'll make a motion that we the existing budget of blacktop money, not changing the bottom line, to apportion it per district based on square footage.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Gary. Discussion. Now, Bernard.
I'm opposed to that motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
You got any other discussion there, Eric?
Yeah, okay, explain the motion real
The
quick.
motion's been made that where the $600,000 on the blacktop money divided by the 5 districts, $120,000 each, will be appropriated by square footage of blacktop.
Can you go through the formulas one more time?
Okay,
You said
yeah.
earlier, Judge.
You'll lose 4,000. Yours goes to 115,200. Gary, yours goes to 123. Ernest, yours go to 85,800. Number 4, you go to 152,400. And number 5, you go to 124,200. Everybody got those numbers?
Yep.
Okay, motion on the floor, and there's second. I'm gonna throw one more little discussion in there. So when we do the state money the same way,
No,
well, no, Bernard, when we do it, we haven't done it the same way, but when we start doing it the same way, Bernard's actually probably gonna gain some money.
Yes. Yeah, he'll gain money.
Follow what I'm saying, Bernard?
yes.
Okay.
I have a recommendation for that if you want me to give it or not.
Sure.
Give it.
I've talked to some other counties, and what they do is they make their road committee. That means that it would be myself with whoever's on the road committee, and I don't have the list in front of me. Everybody submits their list, and we as a group go out and look at them together. That way it doesn't put me on a spot. It doesn't put an individual magistrate on the spot.
But it puts 2 magistrates on the committee and having the ups on the other 3.
But they don't get final say.
Understand?
Now, or we can go percentage-wise, whichever you would like to do.
Brad, don't.
If you're gonna do anything, it would be just have the engineer, not the magistrates.
I don't think Brad wants to be in it. I'd be fine with that. I've advocated that for years.
Yeah, I think I kind of like that idea better, to be honest with you.
I kind of like that.
Sense.
I don't want to put him in that position. I'm sure he doesn't want to.
Well, I mean, honestly, I know each and every one on this serving on this fiscal court now, and I know we do lobby hard for our districts, but I know each and every one of you all is for Nelson County, and I think that you can have a fair-minded approach to it, especially when you got, Brad. Everybody trusts, trust Brad. So,
Been nice knowing you, Brad.
Hey, I was bragging on him the other day. He's worth his weight in gold. He does so much. So, I like that recommendation personally. But I would go with also with what Jeff said as well.
But the motion actually is only dealing with the county money right now, but I just want to make sure everybody was aware of what we were talking about doing.
I think we should move to after such. I think we should move to maybe even we were discussing. The state has, ratings for their state roads and their rural state roads. It would be interesting to see.
Well, I see a lot of pitfalls with the road committee issue. It could potentially kind of get political after a while. Why don't we do this motion is for the county money right now.
Yes,
right?
yes. Uh-huh.
The state money, we do this with the understanding that the state money, we'll try that experiment with any additional monies that we get from the state and see how that works.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hey, boys, can I say something? When we
Yeah,
buy
we're
an
still in
ambulance,
discussion.
yeah, when we buy an ambulance, I buy it for District 5, or I vote for District 5, District 2. We want that ambulance to have the best roads there is. And Eric, if you've got a road that ambulance can't drive on safely, I understand. I think that road needs to be fixed. I don't want our ambulance tore up. I don't want our police officers driving on an unsafe road. And I understand about the money. When I first got in, I didn't understand it. But as I'm getting a little bit older and seeing the need, like Eric said, we're all here for Nelson County. I'm not just here for District 1. When I say aye to an ambulance, it's for all of us. It's for all of Nelson County. So keep that in the back of your mind too.
Keith, I really don't think there's any roads, though, in all due respect, that the ambulance can't drive over right now.
I know.
I don't want to make Brad and Lee not doing anything at all.
No, I don't mean that at all.
I know you didn't. I just want, but the
Lee-
public hears this and they don't understand what we're doing, though, sometimes.
Right.
To me, I agree with you totally, Keith. I think we're all on the same page here. I think it could help alleviate some of the folks that feel like because they're not closer to Bardstown, they're not getting their fair share. And
I get that pretty regular, yeah.
Hear that all the time. I think it would make it because I'm going to tell you, District 5 cannot put money back. I know that there's some districts that they may not have to spend all their blacktop money and they have to roll that over. Well, guess what? I can't afford that luxury over here because there's a lot of places that need to be hit and 120,000 just won't even cover it. So I think that it would ease the taxpayers' mind. It would take the politics out of it and make it more fair for the whole county.
Guys, let's vote. I gotta leave.
Okay.
I'll call the question then, Judge.
I'm sorry?
I said, I'll call the question.
Okay. We do have a motion on the floor and the second's been made. All approved, say aye. Disapprove.
No,
2 disapprove. Motion carries, Jeanette.
I gotta leave. See you guys.
All right, thanks, Bernard.
Thank you, Bernard.
Hey, Bernard.
Who, Bernard? Was it 2 opposed on that, Judge?
2 opposed, Keith and Bernard. Thank you all. That's just one page of the budget. But good discussion, great discussion. I enjoy the discussion, open-mindedness. We'll come back to the state funds one day. It's not as easy as you say when on the state, because a lot of times the state will tell you, they'll call you up and say, I've got discretionary funds. I need you to have submittals to me in a week.
About this much.
And Brad can tell you that, but I got an idea how we can work through that.
Okay.
Any other questions on the road fund at all?
Yeah. What is the most farmed area in the districts?
Man,
No clue.
They're all over.
They're all over, man.
I know, but I mean,
Number 1, number 5.
number 2 don't have that
I mean-
much.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, it does.
How much?
I don't know, but it's all Woodlawn area, Poplar Flat,
Summers Lane area,
all the way to 55.
down the bottoms especially.
Springtown Road, Tom Greer Lane,
What's that road right off of Manton Road down there, Borders Lane?
Borders Lane,
That's got a lot of farmland down there.
even Potter Shop. There's a lot of farms on Potter Shop.
Well, I can find that out for you though, Keith.
I would like to know, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guarantee you District 5 has got, and District 1 too, and Bernard, they got a lot of agriculture.
Now, what do you call farmland? Are you calling cropping or cattle?
I'd say farming.
That's not what I said.
Well, I'm talking about grain.
Grain. I understand. I thought that's probably what you meant. I just want to clarify.
Right. Yeah, cattle's travel every now and then, but those grain trucks travel
Oh yeah, and you got
all the time.
You got Peterson over there. Of course, they've got subbed out farms all over.
Actually, I would throw a little disagreement with you, Keith, on the, because the farmers now, a lot of the cattle people are using slop, and that slop on a daily basis going down the county road, and I can name you 15 or 20 people right now that are hauling slop. Going down those county roads is probably worse than the grain trucks once a year or twice a year.
I agree.
I don't think you've got a lot of people slopping over in your district, Keith, to be honest with you. But you might look at that aspect of it.
Every one of those factors are hard on blacktop. I agree.
Go to jail budget. That's on page number 25. On page 25, on the control intake on prisoners, we've lowered that number a little bit because the numbers of prisoners are going down. That might even be high at this point, but we'll kind of keep an eye on it as we go forward. Last count we had from Buck, it was the state prisoners was still a little bit more than the county prisoners. The Deputy salaries, you guys have seen this before. We're proposing an increase there based on some new employees.
What's the increase?
Went, budgeted amount 805 and went to 915.
What percent is that?
Well, what percent is that? That's 2 new employees. That would be about a 10%, 11% increase.
Okay, so you're not increasing per employee. It's not a raise for each employee. Is that what you-
No. That's just total dollars available for him to figure out his scheduling and numbers. He basically controls how that money is appropriated on raises and so forth. In fact, I think his chief deputy is, he's looking at giving her a raise this year as well.
Okay, so you haven't figured any raises in?
There's a 3% increase.
I know that's cost of living plus a little bit extra, yeah.
Yeah, about 7/10 of a penny extra, yeah. If you go to, with the insurance savings, you may keep it at 2.3. That's up to you guys.
Don't.
And on the food, we budgeted 260 on food. I hope that's not needed. That much is not needed this year, but we got to be safe, guys. You got to budget some of the worst case scenarios to be safe. Believe me. And the medical side of it, I remember coming in 94, 95, 96. Our medical went from like one year like 60,000 to 90,000 to 100,000. It just kept rising and rising and rising. Any questions on the jail budget? Buck, can you hear us at all, Buck?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can this time. Didn't last time. You have any questions or comments on your budget?
Not right now, no.
Okay, thank you. And again, that last page on 28, so that 1.5 transfer, I hope we don't have to use all that.
I do think that Buck must be feeling good down there, because as soon as they get discharged, they want to start a fight with the police to get back in there, and then we have police that are pleading guilty to things they didn't even do just to go to jail. Good job.
Come down, we'll feed you.
Maybe he's got a good cook down there, don't you, Buck?
2 of them.
Yeah. On the LGA fund, as you know, that money has to be used that we just discussed for roads. That basically pays for our hot mix and cold mix, and then a little bit of the money transferred to the road fund to operate the roads there. Okay, EMS fund, pretty routine as far as I'm concerned, right, Joe? Okay. I'm gonna go to the transfers. Go to page 32. This is critical here.
This hard copy and the one that's on the email, the page numbers aren't lining up, but I'm getting down to it.
Yeah, I've got an old copy, so you may have an updated. Mine's got the scratches on it and stuff.
Okay.
Go the last, I think it would be the last page of the EMS fund, whatever that number may be, and I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
32.
General fund transfer, I've already spoken about that, $325,000 from the general fund. But occupational license this year will be transferring $730,000. So that's $1,055,000 transferring from the different funds to keep the EMS fund afloat. And by the way, guys, I've talked to about 3 or 4 of my county judges in our region. That's becoming pretty common. That and the jail both. Marion County is even kind of squawking a little bit. Judge over there is talking about how much money's coming out of their regular tax money to subsidize those 2 entities, where the jail over there used to turn over money back to the county. They have in the past.
Am I correct on the EMS is 1.1 and jail 1.5?
Jail's 1.5 and 1.1 on, yes, you're right. Solid waste fund. And just to remind everybody, this budget is based on a 50 cent an hour increase, 50 cent a month. I got other stuff on my mind today. 50 cent a month increase, and I'll be presenting something to you guys to look at that real shortly. I'm hoping that we have our first fiscal court meeting in June, we'll have it live with live bodies. Have I talked to you guys about that?
No.
Yes.
You mentioned it.
I think I sent out an email, maybe.
Yeah.
If not, it's my goal, and if we can do it safely.
You know, Fairfield had theirs last meeting in person.
Did they?
Had their masks on, and they did Zoom as well.
Hardin County they haven't stopped. They've had theirs in person the whole time. But to go to the solid waste fund, it's based on needs as well. You look at on page 34, another new garbage truck at 172. See that? I think I've talked to you guys about some of this stuff in the committee and wherever.
I'm just gonna mention this real quick so I can go ahead and get shot down. So this budget includes a 50-cent increase on rates. Have you did any investigating on how much it would save us if we did alleviate the bulky item pickup?
Oh, I'll give you a ballpark.
Yeah.
In true cost, it would eliminate probably about $200,000. And what we transfer and actually charge back, you probably would save in cash. You probably save about 110, probably 115.
No,
but there's some other costs we don't charge back. You know, the use of the equipment and other stuff that the road fund has to supplement.
I know those guys they do an incredible service doing that bulky item pickup, and I have seen some of the garbage piles in my district that was, you know, I mean, obviously not bulky items. It was used as a small dump, and over in Keys too, and I'm sure everywhere across the county. And I really feel like that a lot of folks are coming in and just dropping their stuff when we have bulky item pickup, possibly even I've heard from over here from other counties as well. Man, I don't know if there's any appetite for the court to look into that instead of getting an increase, but.
Well, actually, I have proposed a $1 increase per month and brought it back to try to get a consensus from the court to go with a little bit. Most people can understand a little bit of an increase from time to time. Mm-hmm. It's been, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, John, it's been what, 5 or 6 years, 7 years?
7 years.
7 years, yeah.
We talked about 2012 and then raised in 2013.
Yeah. But the bulky item program is a very well-received program. Contrary to what I don't know how I don't know how people accumulate so much stuff.
They go around and get it every time we have bulky item pickup.
But I really don't, Eric, all due respect, I don't think there's much appetite at the court to drop that program.
No, I considered, thinking about maybe doing it every other year, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that put stuff out every year anyway.
And what the whole purpose of Judge Abel started that program, it was a great program, was to clean up the open dumps in the county. Yeah. And I think that's been one of the most successful things that the county could have done. Most counties are doing it in a different form or fashion now. And the state provided grant monies for some of those back when it started all that, and open dump cleanups, right, Brad?
Correct.
We did several of the big open dump cleanups.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess especially like, let me go to the rural area like Keith on Leonard Hall Road. Eric up you, Love Ridge had some big dumps because they're on the county lines. And that's typically where you would find some of that stuff that other counties don't have mandatory garbage pickup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the disconnect that I see is, I mean, folks are willing to load things up on a trailer and take it to the end of the road or wherever it is they're going to drop it. Why can't they just get a dump pass and go up there and dump it?
Well, they do get a dump pass annually, and if they lose them, I give them a repeat of it, so they will take it to the dump, and we track that pretty good. Less than, I calculated that once year. I think less than 15% or maybe 20% of the passes that we issue are actually redeemed.
The reason they do it, Eric, is because if they had to haul it themselves, they'd have to take 20 trips. That's just the blunt part of it.
And the disadvantage of going to the landfill, if you've got a trailer, especially if you got a trailer that's got a dump on it, they're gonna make you go up in the landfill and get a flat tire or two.
Easy, Judge. Now,
Right, John?
No comment.
I like that, John.
All right, Judge, you're proposing a 50-cent raise through this next budget year.
If you
That's
approve
it.
this budget, it's a 50-cent raise.
No,
That's it. We're not going into the future.
No, yeah, but that's presuming that this budget is based on a 50-cent raise.
this is
Right,
not,
Rhonda?
this is not approving a 50% raise.
No, 50-cent
Budgeting one
per
in.
month raise, yes.
Right.
I'm glad you caught that, Jeff.
straight, Jeff. Keep them straight.
We would still have to vote on an ordinance to increase.
Exactly.
This does not mean.
I will get you the exact cost of that bulky item pickup based on the use of the equipment, the man hours, et cetera. The $65,000 we transferred to the road fund does not pay for it. I assure you of that.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to think of a way to keep from having to raise rates, but and it is what it is.
Now, Eric, we do have a low income rate that will adjust 50 cents as well. It'll be $4.50 and $6.50 a month. We got about 300 or 400 people on that rate. So so the people that can't afford it, there is and we use the federal guidelines to approve those.
Well, I really don't think your garbage rates are out of line. I mean, who's gonna pack their,
Well, we're $3 and $4 under most counties surrounding us anyway.
Yeah, you have to think.
Right, John?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not fair, Judge, because all the counties around us don't own their landfill.
Well,
They don't
that's
have all
Don't
the
make any
expense.
difference. Don't
That's
make
They
any
don't
difference.
have to buy
departments.
that.
Pay to
They
get
don't
rid
have to buy that $170,000 garbage truck. That'd take care of the bucky item, just one garbage truck.
But Keith, they have to take it to a landfill somewhere.
I know they do.
And
but-
we charge the solid waste program for those costs. Right, John?
Yes, that's correct. It's two separate departments, so you have to look at it separately. Either way, we'd have to take it to a landfill. They're two standalone departments and two standalone budgets.
Yeah, because we're taking it to our landfill versus E-Town, but if we took it to E-Town, they'd charge us. So we're charging pretty close to what the same rates would be.
It's all relative then, basically.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Landfill fund. Got the same, maybe a little increase in disposal fees. John, your business has been up a little bit continuously, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It's been very busy the last 3 months.
There's a significant amount of money in the budget for some engineering services, I believe. Right there, let's see here. John, when there's some money in there for the engineering services we put in?
Yes, we have some for engineering. We have some for expansion. Once we look at phase construction, we have 500,000. So we'll have
I'm trying to see
possibly
what page it's on. I'm kind of lost today.
page 38.
38.
38. I'm right on it. So I was right
Yeah.
on it. I just couldn't find it. Okay. Yeah, significant amount of money for, yeah. And
So we'll
that's
have,
that's the plan for the future there.
yes, for the expansion there, we have some money setting aside for landfill expansion escrow down at the bottom, plus setting money aside for the landfill closure. Of course, that's something we have to do every year, is put money aside for closure.
State requires that.
Do we have enough now to the closure? Close?
For closure?
Yeah.
Oh, so basically it's you have to have a certain percentage. So we have an estimate of what it takes to close. And then we got to have a certain percentage of that. So if we're 75% full, we have to have 75% of that money.
What I'm saying is, are we close to having that much money to do the closure?
Yes.
Yes, we have
Yes.
set enough money aside to be on target with the percentage that we need right now.
Okay, and the target date is when?
That's a moving target, Gary.
I've asked that question for 10 years.
Maybe
And it keeps moving.
I'll get an answer for you.
Well, there's
All
no,
right.
it's hard to give an answer, to be honest with you.
Here's
Okay.
what it is, Gary. You don't want to close out quicker than you have to because some of the new landfill will be built upon the
Right,
old
again.
landfill.
Exactly, yeah.
So
And just bear in mind, if any of you guys are around when I'm gone, and maybe I know Bernard's gonna be gone as well, I would always recommend, when you close the landfill, to borrow 50% of the money.
closed or open?
When you close or build, either one of the two, when you close it as well, cause cash is very important in operations out there, let me tell you. And having that ability to buy new garbage trucks, and not new garbage, but roll-off trucks, and new boxes, and doing engineering services would be important to continue going forward. That's how we built, I think we borrowed about $4 million when we built the first phase, Brad, wasn't that about right? That's been
Correct.
20 some years, 25 years ago or so. And when we built that first phase, it was about 4-point-some million. And then we built another phase. I think, Brad, Marion Bischoff did that one, didn't he? It was about 2 or 3 million.
That was in 1998, my first year started.
But so it's important to have that cash flow is what I'm trying to say.
Makes sense.
We have, as a county, we have relatively low debt.
Right.
Now, so.
Occupational license, page 40. If there's no more questions on landfill.
How much do we have, Judge, to cover? $1.4 million? I think that's what Rhonda told me.
On what's that, occupational?
No, to cover for the landfill.
Oh, for cover?
Yeah,
I don't have it right
We
in
have
front of me.
5.5 in investments.
How
What was
much?
that,
We
Rhonda?
have 5.5 million set aside in investments right now.
5.5.
Part of that is closure and part of it's expansion.
Right.
About 1.2 to 1.5 is expansion.
Yes.
I think I'm just going to top of my head.
So
I
4.3
don't-
is for cover?
For closure,
4.3?
I don't have those numbers right in front of me, Keith. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Those are, they're on some investments and CDs.
Yeah. What kind of rate we getting on them?
You might be paying.
It varies. 2% is about the most that we get, but it varies.
2%. Okay.
Keith, I can remember when we were getting 60 to 70, 80, 90,000, $100,000 a year on interest on our monies. Those days are over. Okay, page 40, occupational license. You'll look at going back to 2018, 1.3 million. That's about 1.331. We're proposing conservative numbers at 1.3 million again. Any questions on that? We're capped at $75, so even though folks have been off from work, say for a couple of months and then go back to work, we're still going to capture our $75 typically. Now, somebody that doesn't have a cap on it, and they have a, say, like the city's got a 1%, they're probably going to have a pretty good sized loss. The primest example of that would be Jefferson County. Their occupational tax fund brings in millions and millions of dollars. And I think that's a lot of where they're going to be suffering, because people are generally going to still pay their property tax. They're still going to generally pay their personal property taxes at the end of the year, but that occupational tax is the one's really going to hurt them. And the insurance premium tax, that they're going to pay that somewhere along the line. And that money's mostly being spent on roads and EMS. If you go to page 41. $550,000 to the roads and $730,000 to the EMS, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. And page 42, the Public Improvement Corporation Fund. You see the big ticket item there is the Justice Center payment. It's called rent technically, but that's where the state's paying the bonds on the Justice Center. I think they've got about 3 more years, don't they, Ron? I'm just going off the top of my head. I think you've got a copy in here, though.
I think it's 23.
Yes, 3 more years.
3 more years, yeah.
What
And by the
June
way,
of 2020.
2023?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, a lot of the counties I've talked to this budget year, the state's already sent them a notice. If they did not have a bond payment or debt service, they cut their expense allowance down to half of what they were paying them for the operations. So somewhere along the line, Matthew, you might tell the judges this, that a lot of these, I think some of them go to LaRue County and other counties. Some of those guys got their allocation or their expenses cut in half. So air conditioner may go, when it goes down, it may go down and may not get back on.
Hey, I'm sure they'll love to hear that.
God rest Judge Heaton's soul, but you know, he liked to keep it real cool in those chambers, didn't he? If I have any questions on the PIC fund, and the last page was or second last page was the debt service outlined, but none of that's really, other than the Salt River bill we're on the hook for, but we've got payments coming in on that. Doesn't come out any tax receipts. And people are still making their pledges so far, so we'll keep our fingers crossed there. Last page is it's called a standing order, routine bills that we pay every month or quarterly, whatever how it may be. That's something we approve every year, and we're required to have approval from the fiscal court as well. Questions?
Yeah, Judge, this year's budget's about $500,000 less than last year's budget. What caused that?
Well, you put me on the spot. $500,000. I mean, that could be a lot of different things.
Road funds,
Well, in first place, you're about $300,000 short in the road fund on the various, the $170,000 on the county road aid, then another $170 in closeout money that you're not going to get. So there's 300 some thousand there.
Okay.
And occupational tax, I mean, few of the other funds line items are down just a little bit, but nothing special.
Yeah, all right.
You know, you're at a $25 million budget, so you know, $200,000 or $300,000 is. I will identify because you piqued my curiosity.
Well, I would have just assumed that it would have been a higher budget, you know, and it's actually 500,000 lower than last year's budget. You know, even with all the problems we had, I thought that's pretty good, you know.
Yeah. But for the media, don't take the $500,000 as a downside.
Right. No, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, I know you didn't, but I don't want the media around it.
Right.
Fiscal court has headlines. Fiscal court has a $500,000 reduction in services, money, you know, and so forth. You know how that goes. Jimmy, you hear me there, old buddy?
and then we get some state money for something pretty big in the last year that was.
I can't remember. Well, first place, you got extra state blacktop money sometimes. That's $200,000 or so. And I'll go through it, but I bet you a lot of it's in the road fund.
Dean, I got a question. One other thing. One thing I wanted to point out too is, you know, the retirement rate did not increase this year. We were expecting a 12% increase on the retirement match. And that actually did not happen. It's going to stay the same. So we didn't face an increase there either.
No, that really helped a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Quick question on my side of the budget for public protection, law enforcement.
What page you on there, bud?
Page 7.
Okay.
2019 budget was 1.355. This year we went down to 1.294700.
Let me go here. You're on page 11 on my thing. Your expenses went to your expenses are are 1.294, right?
Correct, for the upcoming year.
Okay. And
This current year up to we're current operating is 1.355. That's a $60,000 plus reduction.
I'd have to go through.
Well, you're comparing the current year, what we've spent current year, to what we're budgeting for next year. And there's some expenses that we've incurred this year that I don't anticipate on having again, especially in, vehicle damage claims or a vacation sick payout to retired employees. That's two of the big ones.
Yeah, one employee was like $20,000 or $30,000, wasn't it?
Sure. Oh, definitely. It was 33,000 this year. I'm expecting that to at least be cut in half, unless someone retires that I'm not expecting.
Well, you possibly could have two retiring in the upcoming year, one being Jamie Ferry and possibly Kevin Cox. He's eligible to retire at any time. So I was just wondering why those.
I have Jamie budgeted. I'm not aware of Kevin, so that will increase your budget. So.
Yeah, we may have to make those adjustments the year. Every department has one or two of those from time to time.
Okay.
But no, we did increase the salaries based on the 3%.
Also, I want to make you aware as well that we've hired Tom Blair as a retired, saving the county some money. Still considering, I hear the magistrates battle for the road funds. I'm still battling for the deputies to get a raise, and that's looking at $65,000 just on Tom Blair, and we'll continue to battle with the retirement board on Chuck Minor. He's a second retired deputy that's been hired that will come up to around $130,000 in saving the county money, just like what we talked about that the city was doing. We've started doing that as well.
Good point.
And the other is a revenue coming in that doesn't show is the reimbursement for the overtime on the two task force guys. That was over $20,000. And I go by the calendar year. You guys go by the fiscal year. But it was $20,000 from January to December.
I got a question for you, Raymond.
Yes, sir.
I was looking at your budget, and the money that's paid to the task force by the county.
Correct.
When you were campaigning, you had kind of thrown out that you might throw an initiative in there that you might be able to save some money there and create your own drug task force. Have you had any success with that, or are you still kind of?
No, since the city threw a wrench on pulling their guy out, that kind of changed things. I didn't want our detective that was currently there by himself, so we've added one more, and we've made an agreement with the task force that they would pay all their overtime. So both are being reimbursed, and them guys work literally 80 to 90 hours weekly, some less, but for the majority part, we get their overtime reimbursed, and a lot of drug.
We do, if you'll go to magistrates, go to page 5, there is $23,000 in revenue from for what Raymond's talking about there for the task force.
Right. And I also see, Raymond, that we budgeted $95,000 for police vehicles. Is that just for 2 vehicles?
That is for 2 vehicles from fiscal court side. They added basically about $5,000 more than the previous year, and those will be Explorers. I'm assuming that's what the judge is going to order.
Yeah, the 2 vehicles, the base price on the vehicle are in the $34,000 or $5,000 range, 33, 34. You put about 10,000 in each vehicle before you're done, maybe 11. Getting all the equipment on it.
Price goes up every year. It's a common theme. I think this year was a little bit over $12,000 on light bars, lights, and cages. You have to put 2 cages on the vehicles, one for the partition between the deputy and the prisoner, and then one on the back to separate the equipment on the back of it.
How many vehicles do you guys have in your stock now?
We've narrowed down quite a bit because we gave away 3 to the jail in the last 15 months, and then we gave 1 to planning and zoning, and then the vehicles that were just sitting here we're flushing out to be auctioned off. To give you a number, I would say we have probably close to 30.
30? How many guys is in the department? About 30 or?
Counting the court. See, it's a tricky situation because the courthouse is also added. Right now, I believe we have 41 employees at the sheriff's office.
Gotcha. So the guys that work in the courthouse, provide protection courthouse, they have take-home vehicles?
They do not. One of them does. And that's the person that does the transports from courthouse.
Okay.
And he does a good job on that.
He's saved quite a bit of money. We've gone all the way to Georgia, I believe Detroit, and he saved several $100s on going and getting those prisoners instead of paying the transport company to go get them for us.
I'm going to go back, if I can, guys, to the page 11 again on the law enforcement. This is more for the news media to pick up on this. The 1.294,700 is that's the basic expenses, but you got to add the benefit packages to that, so you can add about another $700,000-800,000 to that cost of the sheriff's department to the fiscal court. A little over about 2.1 million, 2.2 million. Yeah, I didn't give you an exact, but and you go back to the pages where it says employees benefits on the general fund, and that's where you can find those numbers. I just want to make sure the media knew that as well.
And didn't the retirement go up this year? Hazardous retirement?
It was frozen. It was frozen.
Frozen.
Yeah. It was going to go up 12%.
So it's about how much now? 40%?
Well, you take $1 million, you're looking at about 390,000.
400,000. Yeah.
370,000. I have to look at the exact percentage.
Yes.
And you got about 300,000 or 400,000 for health insurance. So you got all that comes into play. Depends on the number of employees on the plan. Any other questions, comments, motion? Entertain a motion to approve on first reading, advertise for a second.
I'll make the motion to approve the first reading of the budget.
Motion been made by Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second it, but with the caveats, the adjustments in that portion.
Oh, that's yeah, from a previous motion, yes. Further discussion? Jeanette, I just want to make sure that you knew that Jeff seconded that, okay?
I think
I just thank Raymond for his work at the Sheriff's Department. They've done a great job since he's taken over. And I personally, I would just like to see them, the deputies, get a little bit more money. I know you said there's no place to get it, but I think they deserve it. Being a deputy sheriff 24 hours, 7 days a week, I think none of us want to put our lives on the line for 24 hours a day for the amount they're making. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
I appreciate it. You know, everybody talks about what we've done, and really with the COVID-19, the 2 patients that really didn't want to quarantine, on a phone call away, when Matthew and the judge called, we were there, we took action, and we made sure that the citizens of Nelson County were protected by not letting these knuckleheads go out here and spread the virus. And I appreciate the comment, Gary.
And the fiscal court has thanked you in the past for that service as well.
Yes, you have.
All approve the motion to approve the budget, say aye.
Aye.
Disapprove? Motion carries.
Rhonda, thank you for your work on this. I know you spent a lot of time on it.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
She did overtime this year, Jeff. When I was back and forth, had a trail. She every time she could see me coming, she'd run and hide underneath her desk. Yes, good point. Any other business for the court? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Who's that, Gary?
Yes.
Okay. Gary, second. All approved, say aye. Disapprove. The motion carries. Jeanette, the meeting is over. Thank you all.
Everybody have a good week.
You too.